Hi, my name is Shelby Redfield Kilgore, and I am a Korean adoptee and the filmmaker of all of these foster care and adoption videos on this YouTube channel. I just want to thank all of you who continue to keep coming to my channel, and to any newcomers, welcome. And I hope in between my videos of adoption education that you will check out my other videos that I've been filming since 2012 as a passion project of mine. Today on adoption education, I'm going to be answering the question, why is Mother's Day difficult for some adoptees? I'm going to be talking about my own personal experience with Mother's Day over the years, and thank you for joining me today. I've always said that adoption is a lifelong journey, and within this journey, for me personally, and I also believe for other adoptees, that our views on our adoption experience changes over time. Mine certainly has. And I remember for Mother's Day, when I was a child growing up, it was a day to celebrate my mom who was raising me. I absolutely love her, and we are very, very close. I don't remember the day bringing sort of sad emotions about not being able to be with my first mother. And I really am not sure why, because I grew up in a very open environment as far as being able to talk about my adoption and when I was upset about it, or when I just had questions about my first mother. And I'm not sure why Mother's Day, those kind of emotions didn't come up. My parents always told me growing up that my first mother gave me up out of love to give me a better life that she wasn't able to provide for me. And so while at times I questioned whether or not she loved me, and I dealt with separation anxiety, fear of rejection, I did not feel resentful towards her, at least when I was a young kid growing up. I didn't really allow for that sort of emotion or feeling towards her. And I think it's because it made it too uncomfortable for me, and it was not something I was ready to really confront as a kid. And in an earlier video of this series, and in Kismet episode 1, Korean International Adoption, I do talk about my adoption story and reunion with my first mother when I was 17 years old. But I don't think really in the Kismet Korean International Adoption episode 1 of that series, back in 2012 and 2013, I really didn't talk about sort of what I call the aftermath of a reunion and sort of the feelings that I felt after that. And then fast forward to 2021, I talked about my first mother, a little bit of the reunion, and how I sort of processed that years later, earlier in this adoption education series. And that's when I started feeling resentful towards my first mother, towards also my Korean culture and Korean society for not being accepting of children born out of wedlock. And so Mother's Day for me as a kid, I celebrated my mother who was raising me and who I'm very close to this day. And as I've grown older, this day has been very bittersweet for me. I feel that I can celebrate my mother, my adoptive mother, and celebrate my mother-in-law and my stepmother. I have so much love around me, but even with all of this love from all the mothers in my life that I'm in contact with, it doesn't take away this feeling of loss and this feeling of rejection And it still just brings those kinds of emotions up for me, for my first mother. And the reason why it's so visceral for me right now is because of my journey of battling breast cancer amidst COVID. And I had done another search to find out about my family health history, not to ask for a relationship with anyone, just to know if there was anything else that I needed to be aware of in my family, because I did find out I'm BRCA2 positive, that this is hereditary. I did get it from either my first mother or first father. And, after several months, they were able to contact both of them, and my first mother and first father. And my mother over in Korea is still married, and she still has not told her husband about me, so I'm still a secret. And she was adamant about not being contacted anymore. And it just, again, it felt like another rejection. And while I'm an adult and I am surrounded by love, it's still painful. So Mother's Day for me as an adoptee is very bittersweet. I think the only way I can kind of explain it in a way for other people to understand is if on Mother's Day your mother has already passed away, and so you celebrate the years that you had with her, but you mourn the loss of your mother who's no longer with you. And so that's how I can try and help other people understand what adoptees go through. And I think this day also makes me think of my future. I hope to be able to have children with my husband, but undergoing chemo for 5 months, it could lead to infertility issues down the road. And I know that's a whole other emotional battle to confront as well. And as an adoptee, all of this is very difficult for me. But what I can say during this journey of mine, wanting to live, battling for my life, I find a much deeper appreciation for what I do have and for what I'm grateful for. And I am so grateful to my mom for always allowing me to tell her how I feel, for us to have this very transparent and honest relationship with one another. Of course, no mother-daughter relationship is perfect, but I am always so thankful for the support that my mother has given me, especially on my passion project of filming stories about foster care and adoption, because what I cover is sometimes very difficult. And I've always had her support, and my father's too, of course, but I'm focusing, of course, on Mother's Day. And I don't think a lot of adoptees have that. I feel that there are these split loyalties that adoptees have to grow up with, and I am so grateful that I never had to go through that. And so what I wish for all mothers around the world is that they live without shame and without secrecy for the children that they have born. And I think from that there will be healing, there will be reconciliation and true peace. And that's what I wish for mothers separated from their children. And so I just want to thank all of you for joining me on this video today on Mother's Day. And I hope to see you next week on Adoption Education.